friendship is hard. You might be in a position right now where there's really no one in your life that you'd call a deep friend. Or you might have some people in your life who are friends or a friend circle that you're still feeling dissatisfied about. Well, it's not going the way I thought I hoped it would. Or you might be a Christian and you're thinking to yourself right now, do my friendships look anything like Jesus? And I have no clue how to change that. If that's you, you are going to want to stay tuned and watch what's about to happen. Welcome to the Binmin podcast, where we believe the Christian life can be hard to figure out, but we just believe that everyone should know their next step for making their spiritual life more important to them. I'm Bob.
And I'm Emma.
And today we're going to touch on something that affects all of us. Friendship. Friendship. And I am so happy that I get to have my friend Emma on this episode with me today. Emma, how are you feeling, my friend?
I'm feeling great. I'm excited to talk about friendship.
Yeah. Well, I know that you have thought a lot about this, not just from your own experience, but also because you are in ministry, in leadership, and kind of part of your charge is helping young adults and men and women, particularly who are single, navigate through so many of the spaces that we wrestle with, particularly in our 20s. Mm-hmm. So what is sort of your opener as you jump into the conversation about friendship with people?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I just recently had the opportunity to dive deeply in the Bible on this, which was super interesting because the Bible actually doesn't say the word friend a ton, which actually, Bob told me that.
Surprising. It's surprising.
Good insight, but it talks about community a lot. And so I think how I look at it is God says it's not good for man to be alone. So therefore we know that we need each other to be in this good life that the Lord calls us to. And therefore we need to have community. And if community means loving one another well, which I think is kind of what community is, then we need to love each other well as friends. And so I think it's fundamental to the Christian life to be in friendship with one another. Jesus is described as a friend in a lot of ways. And I think that that's super intentional. And so he's the perfect friend. And so I think reflecting him to one another is the best way to have Christian friendship.
Yeah. I'm going to double click on that because I'm super curious about this question of is Jesus a good friend? I feel like as a Christian, I know the answer that I'm always supposed to be becoming more like Jesus.
Right.
But friendship can seem like a weird category to put on him. He's a great teacher. He's pure. He's strong. He's mighty. He's faithful. He's loving. But wait a minute. Is he the ultimate friend? And if so, how do we know that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think Jesus is an example of a great friend in a lot of different ways. And I'll kind of maybe talk about a few.
Please.
I think he's a good example of a great friend, specifically when it comes to his kind of smaller crew, the disciples. And he has the 12, which he has a certain level of relational depth with. And then he has the 3 who he goes a little bit further in.
These are the guys the 3 who went up on the Mount of Transfiguration with him, or invites him the Garden of Gethsemane to come pray with him.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And they're not his favorite disciples by any means. They are just his deeper level friends, I would say. And I'm not in the mind of Christ to tell you why or what was his reasoning in that. And then we even get a qualifier with John as the disciple whom Jesus loved. And so there's these kind of levels to friendship, it almost seems like, with Jesus.
Which makes you think that that's okay then.
Right.
Maybe that's natural. Maybe that's good.
Yeah. But I think that we see in Jesus, though, that he is love. So therefore he loves perfectly. Therefore he is the perfect friend. And so I think that while he has these different levels of intimacy with people, I would say he's friends with all of them. So he has that same category of friendship with each of the disciples. And he even says, I might skip ahead a little bit.
Please.
But he even says in the book of John, it talks about this qualifier of, I no longer call you servants, I call you friends. And the qualifier that he gives there is because he has given them knowledge of what the Father has for him. So there's this deeper level knowledge of Jesus that the disciples have. So therefore, they're no longer servants of Christ, they're friends of Christ. So it accompanies this level of depth and vulnerability, I think, that he had But I would also say that he's a friend to the masses, right? Like in a very real sense, he feeds them, he provides for them, he teaches them, he addresses their most prevalent need, which is their spiritual deadness. And then even like the Pharisees and the like Sadducees, who we would say maybe would be the most
kind of antagonistic against him.
Yes.
Adversarial,
Yeah, but I would say that Jesus is loving them towards accountability, which is a very friend thing to do. Yeah,
I remember hearing a Christian leader once who's like pretty famous, written a bunch of books, and he was quoted as saying, "I don't have accountability partners. I have friends." Kind of to say like it's not like less than that, it's more than that.
Yeah, like, and that's where I think true accountability comes from. It's like loving someone enough to want more for them than what they can see in themselves, and addressing their identity, not just the sin that comes along with misidentity.
Well, and I mean, that's a lot. Like that's a lot to dive into because I think you've already named a lot of different aspects of what it means to be a friend.
Right.
And going like, well, Jesus crushes it on all fronts.
Yes,
where
absolutely.
You're like speaking truth, being for their good, holding them accountable, developing intimacy, showing consistency. Like you just named like a bunch of things in there as we see through the Gospels.
Yeah.
If I may, like I think one of the other famous examples from the Old Testament is David and Jonathan.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing a fabulous sermon from Tim Keller on this. And then I actually got to preach on this passage once. And it was this idea that like a friend always lets you in and never lets you down. And it was these two dynamics that we will imperfectly pursue, right? Only Jesus does this perfectly. But there's a level of invitation. Let me let you into my heart. There's empathy, there's intimacy, there's vulnerability that makes friendship happen. And then there's this like, and never lets you down. There's like a loyalty, a consistency, a showing up. And man, if you have those two pieces, you are off to a great start. But I also have to admit, like, I think your even posture in describing Jesus sets us up for this fact that maybe the question in my friendships isn't just what am I getting from a bunch of other people, but like, what am I being? Like, what am I becoming? Am I a friend? Am I like Jesus in any of the ways he's displaying friendship?
Absolutely.
Do you think that shifts? Do you think that's a paradigm shift?
Oh, 100%. When I first was studying friendship and read that verse of I no longer call you servants, but friends, it for me was so convicting because I kind of had to do that heart check within myself of, do I have more servants or do I have more friends? Am I allowing people to know me and see all of me? Or am I just filling my time with people that serve the purpose of helping me not be lonely or helping me not be bored, all of those things. I think we do that a lot, but true friendship is letting them in and knowing them and being willing to step into that same level of depth and vulnerability with them too.
Wow. That's so true. I don't think I've ever thought till right now this idea of that we can also channel, hey, I just want you to serve me, kind of be my servant in my life versus truly a friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what do you think, so like what's the hardest part about being a friend or being a really good friend?
Yeah.
Like what's hard about it? What do you think is the hardest part?
Oh man, I think for me it's allowing yourself to be known, because when you're known, like ultimately that's our deepest longing, right? Like we want to be fully loved, and in order to be fully loved, we have to be fully known. But we know ourselves, and Jesus knows us even more. But when I allow myself to be fully known, I'm giving people an invitation to let me down, because we know that although like Jesus and, Jonathan and David are a great example of this, our human friendships a lot of times don't look like that. And so when you give people access to yourself, you're giving people the ability to hurt you. And I think past hurts often factor into how we approach new friendships.
Yeah, it makes me think too, like, do you think there's any difference when we slap the word Christian on friendship? Like, because those of us who are believers, we follow Jesus, that changes everything in our life. But I just think, like, is there something different that we should expect or desire from being a Christian or having other Christians in our life, then maybe that would look a little bit different than folks who may not, just Jesus isn't a part of their equation? Yeah,
I think there should be. John says, in John, Jesus says, by this they will know your disciples, and the qualifier of this is love one another. So Jesus says that by how we love one another is how the world will see that we're different.
Wow.
So our friends should be so boldly different than the world's friendships that people should ask questions.
Wow.
I think friendship is missional, and I think sometimes we miss that.
Okay, tell me, what does that mean?
Well,
Friendship is missional.
friendship is missional. Yeah, I think one, like we see how this plays out when Jesus sends the disciples out in twos, right? Like he sends them into the mission field together. So I think we do like life on mission better together. It's nice when you have a friend that can go into a place with you. But
Being on mission for Jesus is secretly a team sport.
it's such a team sport, yes. But then I also think, like I want the people in my life that don't know Jesus to look at how I live it and how I treat my friends as a testament to how Jesus has loved me.
Gotcha.
And so I think it can be part of our witness. But I don't always think that we do that super well.
Yeah. They're like if someone's looking going, well, what do I think of Bob and this thing that he follows Jesus? Well, maybe one of the biggest markers for me of giving it a shot is going, does he love people really well? Is he close, good friends with them?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. That's helpful. I think maybe a couple of things that makes me think about specifically with Jesus too is when he says like love has no greater, display essentially than this, that a man lay down his life, man or woman, like lay down his life for his friends.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting definition about friendship, that like friendship is fundamentally sacrificial. That I'm willing to risk, I'm willing to give, I'm willing to love. I'm willing to like literally lay my life down on behalf of other people because my heart is so big. I most deeply want their good. Like, so it does make me think there's something interesting about being sacrificial in our relationships that looks like Jesus. And then one other thought, this is really provoking me, helping us think about Jesus as the friend. It makes me think strangely, like even when Jesus leaves, he doesn't leave. Yeah. Right? He goes like his last words on earth at the end of Matthew 28. He goes like, and I am with you always, even to the end of the age, right? Up into that time when my kingdom's going to come and then you'll see me face to face. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So like he shows up again and again and again. So to me, I go, wow, how can I be sacrificing for people around me? And how can I make sure like I'm consistently showing up for them? Yeah. Anything else that hits home for you that you're like, this is the kind of friend I feel my urge right now that I want to be more of?
Yeah. I mean, what you just described sounds really impossible. And so I think just the knowledge that like, because we're Christians, that also tells us that we can't do that without the Spirit inside us. And so I think like being prayerful in how we pray for our friends, but also how we pray for our interactions with our friends. Because it is really hard. It's a hard ask, like that Jesus says. He says that we're to love people like him. And that's an impossible ask. And so just recognizing that and being intentional to lean into the Spirit when you run out of yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, we're totally going to mess up and be super imperfect, messy friends. Yeah. And realizing that other people around us are going to do the same. So, but yet there's tons of hope because we have tons of hope in Jesus and what he does by the Spirit within us. Yeah. So, and what he can do in the people around us. He's the great provider. Well, I want to land the plane on a next step. I can keep going and talk about this for a long time.
I love this conversation.
So important, so helpful. And I realize like it's deeply personal, right? Yeah. So like if you're wrestling with friendships right now, know that like I see that, we hear that. Like not every season or chapter of life is the same. Like if we rewound the tapes and we had another 45 minutes to talk, I could walk you through seasons of my life where it was so hard. Right. And I felt friendless. Yes. And I can talk about seasons like one I'm in right now where I have deep friendships, spiritual friendships with people in my small group or with my spouse or with people in my church or with people in my neighborhood. And I'm so thankful for them, why those emerged, how those emerged, what that looked like. But we can't spend all that time. So we land the plane on like simply a next step, right? What's your next step? You cool if I give it a shot? Yeah. Do you have comments before I give it a next step?
Well, I have a couple thoughts on this too, but I want to see if they're the same as yours. So I want you to go first.
I want you to go first.
Okay. Well, my thought for next step would be like kind of twofold, right? Of like heart check, am I a good friend? I think that's a good question just to ask and to pray through of like, Lord, reveal how I can be a better friend. Because I think, like you said, it's a sacrifice. And so fundamentally it should be hard for us. Yeah. And then I think the second would be, because you said, friendship takes time to build. And so I don't want the next step to be like, hey, go find someone and let them know you fully. Let them know you're 100%. Because I think in some situations that's not healthy. Yep. But what is one next step that you could take to get closer to that conversation? Like, do you need to invite that girl that you sit with at church every single week, but have never hung out with outside of church to go get coffee with you? Or do you need to invite someone into your home? I think that's a next step too. And then even if you have those good, consistent people, like, do you need to have some accountability with people and invite them in and share a sin struggle? But just what is one more step that you can take to get to that level of friendship?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So what's your next step this week? Let them in. Figure out one way that God's knocking on your heart to take someone in your life and let them in a little bit deeper. They don't need to know every piece of every hard part of your story necessarily, but let them into your apartment for a dinner. Let them into your schedule so you guys are grabbing coffee. Let them into the seat next to you at church. Let them into just a simple part of your life that goes beyond like the niceties to say, well, I'm going to give you the real answer of how I'm doing this week, right? Or let me ask you, how are you really doing this week? And when you let them in a little bit deeper in your heart, you might get the chance to be a little bit deeper in their heart too, and therefore develop not just an acquaintanceships, but relationships that are friendships. Well, Emma, you're awesome.
You're awesome. This is great.
Thank you guys for hanging with us. Thanks for being here for the Binmin podcast. Yeah, we just believe, Christian life can be hard to figure out, but everyone should know their next step for making their spiritual life more important to them. If this is helpful to you, please let us know in the comments to this episode, or some of the ways that it's been helpful for you to become a better friend or to seek out people and good, deep friendships in your life. As always, we would love to invite you into the Binmin family by jumping onto our email newsletter that goes out with sneak peeks and exclusive content. Just go to binmin.org to sign up for that newsletter and be an insider with us. Follow us on socials. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you get our videos as soon as they come out. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. God bless.